LegCo election proposals from Alliance for True Democracy. Applicants line up for kindergarten places next year, and still no breakthrough in U.S. government shutdown.
Good evening. Long lines of people have appeared at a number of kindergartens, especially in the northern New Territories, even days before application forms are handed out for the next school year. The Education Bureau has asked local kindergartens to improve their student enrollment procedures. Jenny Lam reports.
This kindergarten in Fanling will give out 150 application forms tomorrow, and parents have already been lining up outside. They include local residents as well as parents from across the border trying to get their kids enrolled in Hong Kong schools. This mum says she would rather have a tough time now than many tough days in future if her child has to go to a school far away from home. Another kindergarten in Changshui has asked parents not to queue up till tomorrow because they won't be handing out the forms until Saturday. So the parents wait at a nearby park instead. Many of them came over from the mainland, and some have put their children down for up to 10 schools. This mum is from Shenzhen. She explains that getting a school place for her kid in Changshui will mean a shorter trip to school every day than going to kindergartens elsewhere in Hong Kong. The headmistress of the kindergarten, Wang Suk-chan, says she has never seen a queue outside her school as long as this one. On suggestions that the school should accept online applications so that there's no need for parents to line up in advance, Wang says that won't work as the school will get far more applications than it can handle. Education Bureau says since kindergartens are privately run, the supply and demand of school places have always been determined by market forces. Officials say on the whole there are enough places to meet demand in every district, but they will discuss with the kindergartens on how to improve enrollment procedures, hopefully to avoid the problems of long hours of waiting and one child taking up places at a number of schools. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
The Alliance for the True Democracy has put forward election proposals for the next 2 Legislative Council polls. The ideas include a one-man, two-votes arrangement, increasing the number of LegCo seats to 90, and scrapping the functional constituencies. Rachel Leung reports.
The electoral arrangements put forward by the Alliance for True Democracy are the work of a group of academics. Option 1 is to increase the number of LegCo seats to 90 by 2020 and scrap all the functional constituencies. About 40 to 50 seats will be elected by proportional representation. The rest will be through the first-past-the-post system. In proportional representation, the alliance proposed that the whole of Hong Kong can be a single constituency, or it can be split into 6 to 7 different ones. Political parties will then field lists of candidates. On the first-past-the-post voting system, the academics say Hong Kong can be split into 40 or 50 constituencies with a seat for each. Each voter gets 2 votes. The academics pointed out that if the entire territory is treated as a single constituency, smaller political parties will have a better chance of winning, whereas first-past-the-post will favor bigger parties. They believe a mixture of proportional representation and first-past-the-post will result in a less divided legislative council than what it is now.
Of course, I believe that a lot of the pro-establishment or business sectors are unwilling to make any change. But that is precisely the reason that we propose that we need to make some change in 2016. Because if we delay the change, I don't see any strong reason why the change will be any easier in the year 2020.
On the 2016 LegCo election, the alliance consultants suggest a transitional arrangement. They want to increase the number of LegCo seats by 10 to 80. 60 of those will be directly elected. The number of functional constituencies will be reduced from the present 30 to 20. The 5 so-called super district council seats will be scrapped. There will then be more directly elected seats. And given the change in the proportion of directly elected to functional constituent seats, they think the existing split vote counting arrangement within LegCo should be then scrapped. They say functional constituencies are unfair by nature and expanding their electorate will only bring in more self-interest groups. The Alliance for True Democracy put forward their ideas for public consultation and hope to finalize the proposals by early next year. The Alliance had earlier proposed arrangements for the 2017 chief executive election, and the Legislative Council electoral arrangements they're putting forward today are supposed to take Hong Kong one step forward towards democracy. Rachel Lang, TVB News.
Police are looking for a man in connection with a double burglary in Clearwater Bay this morning. In one case, a domestic helper was threatened with a knife and then tied up. Jenny Lam reports.
The two houses that were burgled are on Chi Fai Path in Tai Mong Chai off Clearwater Bay Road. The burglars took away about $10,000 worth of cameras, watches and jewellery from one house. And in the second house, the two men threatened a domestic helper with a knife, tied her up and then ransacked the house. Police received a call for help at around 9:30 a.m. and they arrived at the scene about half an hour later. They spotted two suspects at nearby Yan Yi Road. One man was arrested, but the other one got away. Assistant Commander for the Wong Tai Sin District, Chow Tak Choi, says the man they arrested is an illegal immigrant, and officers found some of the stuff taken from the houses on him. He also had a knife and some duct tape. He put up a fight during the arrest, and both the suspect and a police officer suffered minor injuries. Police then set up roadblocks in the area to look for the other suspect. They also sent out helicopters to help with the search. Police say there were 12 burglaries in the Sai Kung district in September, and they are investigating whether the person they arrested today has anything to do with the other break-ins. Officers say burglars usually pick houses that they can break into easily. The police have promised to step up patrols in the area and hope to educate people on how to be vigilant against burglars. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
President Xi Jinping says China is ready to strengthen strategic ties with Indonesia to create a comprehensive strategic partnership. He told Indonesian parliamentarians he intends to boost cooperation in areas such as communications and trade. More from Alan Buknia.
Xi made the speech on the second day of his two-day visit to Indonesia, expounding on China's vision of further promoting bilateral ties. It's Xi's first leg of his maiden trip to Southeast Asia since he assumed the presidency in March. Xi also made reference to China's efforts to assist Indonesia following the earthquake and tsunamis in 2004. He said it was China's largest ever overseas relief effort. Concerning some territorial disputes China has with several Southeast Asian countries, Xi said Beijing wants them handled peacefully through negotiations. She had earlier met with Indonesian President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. The two agreed to boost ties to forge a comprehensive strategic partnership. The two countries had already agreed to a strategic partnership in 2005. It means a strengthening in strategic communications and increased cooperation in areas such as the economy, trade, and people-to-people exchanges. She noted that both China and Indonesia are major developing countries and important emerging economies with regional and global influence. The president will next travel to Malaysia before returning to the Indonesian resort island of Bali for an informal meeting of Asia-Pacific economic cooperation leaders. Alan Buknia, TVB News.
The partial government shutdown in the U.S. continues today with no sign of a breakthrough. Even after congressional leaders met with President Barack Obama, they still couldn't agree on terms to reopen the government. As a consequence, Obama warns Wall Street the U.S. is teetering on a catastrophic debt default, all because Republicans want their way. After meeting with President Barack Obama and Democratic leaders, the Speaker of the House of Representatives emerged from the White House with news that the government shutdown would continue.
The president reiterated one more time tonight that he will not negotiate.
John Boehner is adamant House Republicans passed 4 different measures to continue funding the government, but each one was rejected by Senate Democrats.
All we're asking for here is a discussion and fairness for the American people under Obamacare.
Democratic leaders agree they're not going to fall for Republican shenanigans to stop Obamacare.
They want to overturn the Affordable Care Act. That's not going to happen. We have the debt ceiling staring us in the face. And he wants to talk about a short-term CR?
Meantime, people across the nation are paying the price for the shutdown gridlock. Nearly 1 million people are now out of work, and the masses depending on government programs are being turned away. President Obama warns Wall Street to get ready. He says if Republicans continue to hold Obamacare as hostage for funding the government, the debt limit will never be raised. And if the country defaults on its obligations, it will destroy America's economy and send shockwaves around global markets. After 5 months of testimony, a jury in Los Angeles has found that the company promoting Michael Jackson's last concert should not be held liable for the singer's death. Jackson's mother and his 3 children filed the wrongful death suit. The family argued that AEG Live had negligently hired Dr. Conrad Murray as Jackson's personal doctor and that he ignored signs that Jackson's health was deteriorating. Murray was responsible for caring for Jackson as he rehearsed for what would have been 50 comeback concert tours. Dr. Murray was convicted of involuntary manslaughter for giving Jackson that powerful dose of propofol that killed him back in June of 2009.
Italian Prime Minister Enrico Letta won a vote of confidence from the Italian Senate Wednesday. The surprisingly convincing vote of 235 to 70 came after former Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi made a stunning turnaround and threw his support behind Letta. Berlusconi acknowledged he didn't have enough votes to bring down the government. Letta called it an historic day for Italian democracy. Berlusconi now faces a Senate vote on Friday that could strip him of his seat following his tax fraud conviction and 4-year prison sentence. Welcome back. Some 200 transport workers at Swire Beverages have gone on strike in the company's Sha Tin plant. The workers are unhappy the company is outsourcing part of the work, but the management has denied there's such a policy. The Labor Department is mediating in the dispute. The workers say unless an agreement is reached, they will stay put at the plant. More from Jenny Lam.
Hours of discussion between transport workers and management at Swire Beverages Limited in Sha Tin failed to end the strike this afternoon. The men say it all started when Swire redeployed delivery work to Sha Tau Kok from one part of the company to the next. Chen Hing-lung, spokesman for the Swire Beverages Hong Kong Employees General Union, says they rely on commission from customers. By taking away some of their big customers, the company will effectively make them work harder for less money. Most of the 200 or so people who went on strike are delivery workers, drivers and some salespeople. They say there was no progress during today's talks between staff and management because of a mutual lack of trust. They want Swire to recognise the union's right to bargain in the first place. Swire says they are just redeploying their work and not outsourcing it. Company spokeswoman Chen Yunfan says some of their customers said there is no need for a delivery man to accompany every truck, so it means some workers will be asked to work on other routes. But she promised the company will not cut their working hours. The company admitted, though, that they considered outsourcing its deliveries to the airport last year, but they gave up the idea when they couldn't reach an agreement with the workers. Jenny Lam, TVB News.
Customs officers have seized more than $11 million worth of ivory tusks. They were hidden in cargo shipments arriving from the Ivory Coast. Stephanie Choi reports.
Weighing almost 800 kilograms, the ivory tusks were split into 3 containers.
Each container, they use a different consignee. A different name. Preliminary investigation, we find that the consignee, they use the bogus trading companies.
Customs officers suspect that the smugglers belonged to an international syndicate. The shipments were declared to contain soybeans. Customs officers got suspicious after finding soybean in the shipment because it isn't usually imported from Africa. And sure enough, they found close to 200 ivory tusks covered by bags of soybean. This is the 4th such bust this year. And the latest operation was the result of cooperation between the Hong Kong government and international intelligence agencies.
We checked our cargo according to the risk indicators. And secondly, we use X-ray machines, the high technology, the mobile X-ray vehicle, which can scan a 40-foot container in less than 2 minutes.
But it is more than just a crackdown on crime. Officials say the confiscated ivory can be used to promote the importance of the protection of endangered species. Anyone found guilty of trading in endangered species for commercial purposes faces a maximum fine of $5 million and a 2-year jail term. Stephanie Choi, TVB News.
TVB said today a no Cantonese policy governing its performers does not exist. In a statement, TVB said there is no policy now and there will not be one in the future that forbids its artists or singers to speak Cantonese while appearing on programs of other TV stations. TVB said its performers are always free to use the language of their choice when they appear on other stations. Last month, the Communications Authority ruled that those language restrictions on TVB artists and singers were anti-competitive. And that's our news. Thanks for watching.
Good night.